Hey guys, my name is Kayla Garrett. I am a one-star diamond coach, and I have been a coach since the beginning of February this year. So that would make 7 months coaching. I originally joined as a coach because I wanted the discount on Shakeology, and I fell in love with the products. I fell in love with the challenge groups, and I knew that we couldn't afford it. So I became a coach so that I could try to cover my own cost of Shakeology. I had no intention of building this business at all whatsoever at the time. I was actually I had just graduated from nursing school. I was studying for my NCLEX exam, and I was super busy. So I was not, I didn't have any intention of really working this business at the time that I signed up, but it just kind of took off, and obviously God had different plans for me as far as building this business. So once I did start to realize how much I truly loved it and felt like this is my passion, I just went all out for it, and I really started inviting so many people and advertising on Facebook and just sharing my life. And that's really how I've gotten to where I am right now, is just being super consistent with sharing and inviting. So once I started realizing the business potential, at the time, my husband was also a nurse. He was working full time night shift, and we had a 1-year-old. And I had just graduated, like I said, and we were looking at me getting a day shift job. And what our future held to me was just super depressing. I was going to have to be gone from my son for 14-hour days, including, the time to leave the house in the morning and then the time I would get back after working, the shifts that nurses require. We had already checked out a daycare. He was already on the waiting list, and we had figured out that I would be bringing home about $700 after we paid that daycare cost. So, and I would only be bringing home about $1,800 a month. So it really was even more sad to me that I was going to be paying somebody else to keep my son and really not bringing home a whole lot, after that. I wanted to find any other way that I could to make it so that I didn't have to do that. And I'm not saying that this is, for everybody. For me personally, I was not in the position where I felt like that was right for our family. So then, after talking it over with my husband, I was like, well, if I can make this a full-time income by a certain date, then maybe I won't get a job. I won't have to go get a nursing job, and it'll buy me some more time to be home with Avery. And I pushed to make it happen. I think in my second month as a coach, I invited over 150 people, and that hasn't slowed down. I still am constantly inviting and following up and keeping up with people all the time because of how much it means to me to be able to stay home with my son. And so then once I realized that that goal was becoming true, that I was matching the income that I would have been matching as a full-time nurse in just 2 months of doing the business, and I wasn't even having to pay for daycare, I started looking at my next goal. And my next goal was to bring my husband home off of night shift, because we had been married for a year. We have an 18-month-old, and night shift, it was just not good for our family, and it was not good for our marriage. Marriage is hard enough as it is, and when you're not going to sleep every night with your spouse, then it can really start to cause some tension. And I was seeing that starting to happen because we were both so tired and so frustrated all the time. And so that was my next goal, was to really push to be able to bring my husband home. He was miserable at his job, and we were miserable without him being here. And so we knew that we wanted him to be able to have options. First of all, get off of night shift. Second of all, be able to go back to school for something that he really wants to do. And so, every day I wake up, and I would keep that in my mind and know that that was our goal and I needed to happen by a certain date. So, I'm the type of person that when I have something in my mind, I make it happen, and I'm very stubborn like that. So, yeah, I started to see that it was a possibility, and he was able to turn in his notice this summer, and we're doing exactly what the plan was that I had written down my goals, how much I needed to be making by what week, and so that way he could quit and just get a part-time job while he goes back to school to pursue something that he really loves. So yeah, those two whys, my whys, have really already come true. But honestly, the number one reason why I got involved in this business, behind that, those two things, is that is my mom. My mom, and I don't want to go into the whole story about everything about her, but she's been sick all of my life, and I've always taken care of her. And she moved here from South Africa. Her and my parents are from South Africa. They moved here a year before I was born, and she has never worked since she's been here. And on top of that, she also has had a chronic illness that has prevented her from working. So my parents were divorced about 10 years ago, and my mom went on to get remarried, which that husband ended up leaving her for somebody else a couple years ago, and that really, really rocked our world and my world. And I started realizing that as soon as my mom's alimony from this marriage runs out, then her livelihood would end up being on me and my brothers. And so I knew, ever since that's happened, I have been in this mode of, what am I going to do to be able to help my mom? I want her to still have her own life, and she's too young to be living with us, but her hands are tied with having a foreign degree and having the chronic illness, and not having any financial support. So I have a date in mind that I need to be able to support her with a certain amount of money each month, split between me and my brothers. And honestly, that is the driving force behind what I'm doing right now. And I didn't really realize how important your why is, to figure out your why, until really Kelly has talked about it so much. And Kelly said, when you think of your why, it needs to be something big enough and deep enough that it brings you to tears. And honestly, this is something that is so personal to me, and something that I want so badly to be able to do, that it is what keeps me going every single day. I know that by June 2016, I need to be able to support my mom. And even on the hard days, on the tough days, where I feel like, why am I even doing this? I want to quit. We're all going to have those days, but I just think of how much my mom needs this, and that this is the path that is going to relieve that financial pressure on all of us. And I just always keep that in the back of my mind. So that's my huge why, and I encourage you to really find your why and make it something. It can't just be about the financial benefits if you stick with this a long time, because there are going to be hard days, and if you're not seeing the financial reward right now, then you're going to want to give up. But for me, that is so significant to me and so important to me that that's why I keep pushing every single day. So thank you for letting me share, and I'll talk to you guys soon.